The armful of firewood digs into my chest as I step back into the clearing. Moonlight spills across the empty campsite like cold water. I blink once, twice, trying to make sense of what I'm seeing. Where our tent stood 20 minutes ago, there's only flattened grass, the folding chairs, the cooler, Terry's precious camping stove all gone. Hello? My voice sounds small against the vastness of Gila National Forest. Mom? Brinley? Only the wind answers, rustling through ponderosa pines. The firewood tumbles from my arms as I rush to where our car was parked. The rectangular patch of crushed vegetation confirms what I already know they've left. This isn't happening, I whisper, my breath clouding in the night air. This cannot be happening. I fumble for the flashlight in my jacket pocket, clicking it on with trembling fingers. The beam catches something white fluttering against a nearby tree. My heart pounds against my ribs as I move closer. A note, secured with Terry's silver duct tape and words written in my mother's looping handwriting. Let's see if she can figure it out without us. The forest floor seems to tilt beneath my feet. My knees buckle and I sink down, the cool earth seeping through my jeans. The full weight of what they've done crashes over me. They've abandoned me. On purpose. In the wilderness. 40 miles from the nearest town. My thoughts spiral back to this morning, to the simmering tension in our SUV as we drove across the Arizona border into New Mexico. Terry hunched over the steering wheel, knuckles white, accelerating around curves that made my stomach lurch. Mom beside him, laughing nervously whenever I gripped the door handle. It's just mountain roads, Princess, Terry had said, eyes flicking to the rearview mirror. Some people aren't built for adventure. From the back seat, Brinley had snickered, her phone angled toward me. Say hi to my followers, Sable. They love your scared face. Brinley, we agreed no phones. Mom reached back half-heartedly. This is supposed to be our tech-free healing trip. A trip that had materialized out of nowhere 3 days ago. Terry insisted we needed family bonding. Mom packing our bags with unusual enthusiasm. Brinley sulked until she realized I'd be required to come too. The memory shifts to dinner time, the 4 of us around the campfire. Brinley slipped her phone from her pocket whenever Mom and Terry weren't looking, whispering to her screen. Wilderness Survival Challenge, Day 1 with the stepsister. She doesn't know it yet, but things are about to get interesting. I'd thought she was just being Brinley cruel but contained. I hadn't understood I was watching the setup unfold. You're just too sensitive, honey, Mom had said when I mentioned how Brinley was filming me. She's expressing herself. Then Terry, his contempt barely concealed when I mentioned applying to nursing school next fall. College is expensive, Sable. Some people aren't cut out for it. Sable, go get more firewood from that clearing we passed, he'd said an hour later, his smile not reaching his eyes. The good dry stuff. Back in reality, this is a perfect setup. My hands stop trembling. Something cold and clear washes through me, displacing the panic. I take a deliberate breath and stand. I attended that wilderness first aid elective last spring. The instructor's voice comes back to me. Panic is what kills people in survival situations. Not the cold, not the wild. Panic. I reach into my pockets, taking inventory. Half bottle of water, flashlight with fresh batteries, jacket, trail map from the visitor center. Not ideal, but workable. The night stretches around me, alive with sounds: an owl's distant call, the rustle of small creatures in the underbrush. My eyes adjust to the darkness between the trees. The moon casts enough light to see the trail markers. I fold the note carefully and tuck it into my pocket. Evidence. I won't die out here because of them, I say aloud, my voice stronger than I expected. I study the trail map, orienting myself. The ranger station is 5 hours away if I follow the main path. 5 hours of night hiking through unfamiliar wilderness. But with each step I take, determination burns hotter than fear. The weight of their betrayal should crush me. Instead, it fuels me forward, 1 foot after another along the moonlit path. I focus on the trail markers, the rhythm of my breathing, the solid ground beneath my feet. This isn't about survival anymore, I whisper as the trees close around me. It's about never needing them again. The ranger station glows like a lighthouse against the pre-dawn darkness. My legs tremble beneath me as I climb the wooden steps, each muscle screaming from 5 hours of continuous hiking. The door feels impossibly heavy as I push it open. A woman in a Forest Service uniform looks up from her computer, eyes widening as she takes in my disheveled appearance. Honey, are you all right? She rises quickly, guiding me to a chair. You look half frozen. My family left me. The words sound strange in the warmth of the station. At our campsite in the wilderness. On purpose. Her expression shifts from concern to disbelief. Your family left you? On purpose? I pull the note from my pocket, placing it on the desk between us. The ranger reads it twice, her face hardening with each pass. I'm calling the sheriff, she says, reaching for the phone. This is criminal. 2 hours later, I sat across from a Grant County sheriff's deputy named Ortega. His weathered face remains carefully neutral as I describe finding the empty campsite, the note, the 5-hour hike through darkness. This is abandonment on public land, he says finally, setting down his pen. We take this very seriously. A memory surfaces Mom forgetting to pick me up after art club in 7th grade, waiting 4 hours until the janitor called Terry to come get me. Terry's irritation, not at Mom's forgetfulness, but at my inconvenient existence. They've been abandoning me in different ways for years, I whisper. Just never so literally. Deputy Ortega slides a phone across the desk. Want to call home? I stare at the phone, picturing Mom's tearful excuses, Terry's cold logic explaining why this was somehow my fault, Brinley's smug face recording everything for her followers. No, I say, pulling back my hand. But I'd like to call my aunt, my father's sister. He nods and leaves me alone with the phone. My fingers shake as I dial the number I memorized years ago when Mom accidentally deleted all my father's family contacts after his funeral. It rings 3 times before she answers. Aunt Geneva? It's Sable. My voice cracks. I need help. Silence, then a sharp intake of breath. Sable? What's happened? Are you okay? The concern in her voice genuine, immediate breaks something loose inside me. Words tumble out. The camping trip, the abandonment, the night hike, everything. Stay right there, she says when I finish. I'm coming to get you. It'll take me about 8 hours from Colorado Springs. You don't have to. Yes, I do. Her voice brooks no argument. You're my brother's daughter. I've been trying to reach you for years. 24 hours later, I'm on a Greyhound bus heading northeast. The deputy helped arrange everything, his eyes softening when Geneva arrived, pulling me into a fierce hug that smelled of cinnamon and coffee. I press my forehead against the cool glass, watching desert scrub give way to mountains as we cross into Colorado. My phone buzzes in my pocket, the 7th call from Mom since Geneva helped me buy a temporary replacement at the bus station. I silence it without looking. Geneva meets me at the Colorado Springs station, her silver-streaked auburn hair so like my father's catching the afternoon sun. Her modest ranch-style home sits nestled against the foothills, wind chimes tinkling softly on the porch. Your room is ready, she says, carrying my backpack inside. It's not much, but it's yours for as long as you need. The guest room has pale yellow walls and a patchwork quilt that looks handmade. I sink onto the bed, overwhelmed by simple kindness. There's something you should see, Geneva says from the doorway. I've been debating whether to show you right away, but I think you deserve the truth. She returns with a cardboard box labeled, Returned Mail Sable. I've been writing to you since your father died, she explains, setting it beside me. Birthday cards, Christmas letters, graduation gifts, they all came back marked, Returned to Sender. My fingers trace the careful handwriting on the envelopes, dozens of them spanning years. There's more. Geneva pulls out a folder. Your grandmother died 3 years ago. She left these for you. The papers inside detail a trust fund, $38,500 established by my father before his death, for my education. Money I never knew existed. What happened to it? I ask, though I already know. Geneva's eyes fill with sorrow. Your mother and Terry withdrew it. As your guardians, they had legal access until you turned 21. The bank statements show they emptied it 5 years ago. The betrayal is physical, like a blow to the chest. I think of Terry's new truck, Mom's kitchen renovation, Brinley's sweet 16 party with the professional photographer. I sink to the floor, my back against the bed frame. The walls of my chest constrict as memories flood back. Dad teaching me to ride a bike, his patient hands steadying the seat. Dad's laugh, rich and rumbling. His voice reading bedtime stories. He loved you so much, Sable. Geneva kneels beside me, her hand warm on my shoulder. Michael talked about you constantly. He called you his little artist because you were always drawing. I don't remember that, I whisper. You were only 10 when he died. But he knew you'd do something special with your life. That's why he set up the trust fund. My phone buzzes again. Mom's text appears on the screen. When are you coming home? This little stunt isn't funny. The weight of years of diminishment, of erasure, of theft crashes through me. For the first time since I was 10 years old, I allowed myself to truly cry. Not the careful, quiet tears I'd trained myself to produce, but ugly, wrenching sobs that tear from somewhere primal. Geneva holds me through it, solid as the mountains outside the window. When the storm passes, I reach for my phone and turn it off completely. The simple action feels momentous. You could take legal action about the trust fund, Geneva says gently. It might not recover everything, but... I don't want to go back, I interrupt, my voice hoarse but steady. Not to the house, not to the fight, not to any of it. I look around the small, sunlit room with its freshly laundered sheets and handmade quilt. Through the window, I can see mountains rising against a clear blue sky. Something unfamiliar unfurls in my chest possibility. I'm not going back, I say, the words gaining strength as I speak them. I'm going forward. 2 weeks after the abandonment, my phone buzzes for the 5th time this morning. I don't need to look at the screen to know it's Mother. The device skitters across Geneva's kitchen counter like an agitated insect. You should block her number, Geneva says, sliding a mug of coffee toward me. Steam curls between us like a question mark. I silence the phone instead. If I block her, I can't document the harassment. The voicemails evolved over the past 2 weeks. First came Darla's shock. Sable, this little stunt has gone on long enough. Then indignation. After all we've done for you. Now she's reached the guilt phase. How could you do this to your family? What family? The people who left me in the wilderness to figure it out? On screen, Brinley's latest TikTok plays with the sound off. The caption reads, "When your mentally unstable stepsister runs away and everyone blames you. She fake, cries for her followers, carefully angling her face to catch the light. 43,000 sympathetic comments validate her victimhood." The phone rings again. Not Darla this time. Terry, I tell Geneva, showing her the screen. She takes the phone, answers on speaker. This is Geneva. Where is she? Terry's voice fills the kitchen, tight with barely controlled fury. Safe. She's our daughter, not yours. Geneva's eyebrows rise. Interesting perspective from someone who abandoned her in a national forest. Terry's voice drops to a growl. That was a teaching moment. She needs to toughen up. Lesson received. I say, loud enough to carry. I toughened up enough to leave. The line goes dead. Geneva sets the phone down carefully, as if it might detonate. Ready for your first day? She asks. I smooth the wrinkles from my second-hand blouse. The state-funded bookkeeping course I enrolled in last week connected me with Micah Drayton's garage for practical experience. My hands tremble slightly as I gather my things. What if I can't do this? Geneva's hand finds my shoulder. Then you'll learn and try again tomorrow. Later that day, Drayton's automotive sprawls across a corner lot, a concrete bunker painted industrial tan. Inside smells of motor oil and coffee gone cold. A stocky man with silver-threaded beard wipes his hands on a red shop rag as I enter. Micah Drayton, he says, extending a hand that dwarfs mine. You must be Sable. I nod, fighting the urge to shrink into myself. Thank you for the opportunity. He gestures toward a cluttered office visible through a smudged window. Fair warning, nobody's organized that room since my wife died 3 years ago. If you can make sense of it, you're a miracle worker. The office resembles the aftermath of a paper tornado. Invoices cascade from filing cabinets. Sticky notes multiply across computer monitors like yellow fungi. Dust coats everything in a thin gray veil. Where should I start? I ask. Micah shrugs. Anywhere you can find solid ground. I begin with inventory counting, categorizing, creating order from chaos. Hours blur as I sort parts by type and usage frequency. Each correctly labeled bin feels like a small victory. The methodical task soothes my frayed nerves, gives me something concrete to control. By late afternoon, I've created a spreadsheet tracking inventory against purchase orders. Numbers align in perfect columns, each cell a tiny fortress of certainty. Something clicks in my brain, a sense of recognition. These patterns make sense to me in a way people never have. A whole shift later. You did all this today? Micah stands in the doorway, surveying the transformed space. I nod, suddenly worried I've overstepped. You've got a mind for systems, he says simply. Martha will show you invoicing tomorrow. A week later, Mother and Brinley appear without warning. I'm helping a customer when Brinley's voice cuts through the garage's mechanical symphony. Oh my God, she's actually working here. The performative shock in her tone carries to every corner of the shop. Mother steps through the door behind her, designer sunglasses pushed into her highlighted hair. She looks smaller somehow, less intimidating than in my memories. Sable Elizabeth Ashford. She pronounces each syllable like a separate indictment. This childish rebellion ends now. We're taking you home. Every head turns. The air compressor falls silent. I feel something shift inside me, a tectonic plate of anger sliding against the bedrock of my fear. No. The word comes out steady, stronger than I expected. Mother blinks. This isn't in her script. You don't get to decide that anymore, I continue. You left me to find my way out of the woods. Congratulations, I did. Micah appears beside me, arms crossed over his chest. Is there a problem here? Family business, Mother says dismissively. This is my business, Micah counters. And she's part of it now. Mother's mask slips, revealing something ugly beneath. She's barely qualified to pump gas. She reorganized my entire inventory system in 3 days, Micah says. Found billing errors that saved me $8,000 last month. Any other questions about her qualifications? Brinley records everything on her phone, no doubt already planning how to edit this confrontation for maximum sympathy. Put that away, I tell her, surprised by my own authority. For once, she complies. Mother grabs my arm. We need to talk privately. I remove her hand, feeling the ghost of Terry's duct tape on my fingers. We're done talking. The bell above the door jingles as Geneva enters, perfect timing as always. She stands quietly, a steady presence at the periphery. You've got quite a support system here, Mother observes, voice dripping with disdain. Yes. I meet her gaze directly. I finally do. After they leave, Martha, the silver-haired office manager who's been teaching me invoicing, wraps an arm around my shoulders. You handled that with more grace than they deserved. That night, surrounded by Geneva and new friends from the garage, I laughed for the first time since the forest. The sound startles me, rusty but genuine. I'm building something real, I realize aloud. Geneva raises her glass. Without their permission. I raise mine in return. Without their approval. And somehow, that feels like the most powerful act of all. A year later, the brass nameplate gleams under fluorescent light. Sable Ashford, Operations Manager. I run my fingers across the raised letters, still not quite believing they spell my name. Months ago, this office was a glorified storage closet, stuffed with outdated repair manuals and forgotten customer paperwork. Now, the walls glow with fresh paint the color of desert sand, and my reclaimed oak desk faces the door instead of hiding in the corner. You planning to polish that thing all day, or should I bring in the Henderson invoice problem? Micah leans against the doorframe, gray hair catching light from the window behind me. His weathered face breaks into a smile that crinkles the corners of his eyes. Sorry, I slide the nameplate onto its holder. Just having a moment. He nods like he understands, though I doubt Micah Drayton has questioned his place in the world for a single day of his 63 years. Well, have it while reviewing these. He drops a stack of papers on my desk. Suppliers trying to overcharge us again. 3rd time this quarter. I take the invoices, already scanning for discrepancies. I'll handle it. No, you will. He turns to leave, then pauses. Almost forgot. Paper came today. We made the business section. My head snaps up. The journal article? Yep. Local garage defies industry downturn. Got your name in there and everything. He tosses the folded newspaper onto my desk. Not bad for a girl who showed up on my doorstep a year ago looking like a half-drowned cat. After he leaves, I flatten the paper with trembling hands. There it is in black and white. Operations Manager Sable Ashford implemented inventory tracking systems that cut costs by 23% while improving customer satisfaction scores. I trace the words with my fingertip, feeling a warm glow spread through my chest. My phone vibrates against the desk. A local number I don't recognize. I answer with my professional voice. Drayton's Automotive, Sable speaking. Sable? It's Jordan Miller, your mom's old neighbor? The glow in my chest fades. replaced by a familiar tightness. Hi, Jordan. Listen, I hate to bother you, but your mom asked me to reach out. Things aren't good back home. Her voice drops to a conspiratorial whisper. Terry's business went under. Bankruptcy. People are saying he was mixing client funds with personal accounts. I close my eyes, unsurprised. That's unfortunate. And Brinley's crypto thing? Complete scam. She's being investigated by some federal agency. Your mom's beside herself. I'm sorry to hear that. The words fall from my lips automatically, though I'm not sorry at all. They need help, Sable. Darla says they might lose the house. I look at the newspaper article, at my name in print. At the tracking system I built that saved Micah's business. At the brass nameplate that wasn't handed to me, I earned it. Jordan, I appreciate the call, but I have a meeting, I need to go. I hang up before she can respond and stare at the blank computer screen, seeing not my reflection but the moonlit clearing where they left me to find my way out or die trying. My cell phone lights up with a text from Aunt Geneva. Found perfect place for you. 2-bedroom mobile home near Woodland Park. Small but solid. Detached shed could be your studio. I can almost see it my own space, my own rules. A place to rediscover the girl who loved drawing portraits of her father before his death became something her mother refused to discuss. Before Terry made it clear that my grief was inconvenient, the computer pings with a new email notification. The sender's name makes my stomach clench. Darla Ashford, Stanton. Subject line, family emergency, please help. I should delete it unread. That would be the smart move, the safe move. Instead, I click it open, bracing myself for the impact. Sable, I know we've made mistakes. Terrible mistakes. But you're still family. We need $18,000 to stay afloat until Terry's new business partnership comes through. Without it, we'll lose everything. We've always been there for you. Now we need you to be there for us. Mom. I read it 3 times, waiting for the familiar sting, the automatic guilt, the desperate need to please that ruled my life for so long. It doesn't come. Instead, a slow burn starts in my stomach and rises to my chest, not panic, not fear, but a steady, clarifying anger. They've always been there for me? The memory of standing alone in Gila National Forest contradicts that particular lie. I close the email without responding and pick up my phone to call Geneva. I need your advice, I tell her when she answers, about healthy boundaries. My fingers tap the brass nameplate as we talk. The woman whose name is etched there isn't the girl they abandoned in the woods. She's someone stronger, someone who knows exactly what she's worth, and what she isn't willing to pay for freedom anymore. A week later, the diner sits on the outskirts of Santa Fe, a weathered building with turquoise trim that's seen decades of roadside confessions. I arrive 15 minutes early, parking Geneva's Buick beside a pickup with Arizona plates. My stomach tightens. Remember, Geneva says, adjusting her silver bracelets. This meeting happens on your terms. I nod, straightening my blouse, and ends on them too. Inside, the smell of coffee and warm pie fills the air. Only 3 tables occupied at this hour, a silver-haired couple sharing toast, a trucker with a newspaper, and my family huddled in the back booth. They haven't spotted us yet. My mother looks smaller somehow, her blonde hair dulled beneath cheap box dye. Terry's shirt collar hangs loose around his neck. Brinley hunches over her phone, thumbs moving furiously across the screen. The sight of them doesn't hurt like it used to. Ready? Geneva whispers. I square my shoulders. Absolutely. We approach the table with measured steps. Mom sees me first, her expression shifting from boredom to practiced concern. She springs up, arms outstretched. Sable, oh thank God. I step sideways, avoiding her embrace. Her arms drop awkwardly. Terry half rises, extends his hand as if this were a business meeting. Good to see you, Sable. I slide into the booth without taking it. Geneva sits beside me, a quiet fortress. Thank you both for coming, Terry says, voice sliding into the smooth tone he uses with difficult clients. We appreciate you taking the time to hear us out. Mom reaches across the table. I place my hands in my lap. Her fingers curl around nothing. Honey, these past months. Her voice cracks with well-rehearsed emotion. Family needs to stick together during hard times. Brinley finally looks up, her expression unreadable. A notification pings on her phone. She immediately looks down again. We've had some financial setbacks, Terry says. The business took a hit. The housing market's been unstable. Mom nods rapidly. We've learned our lesson about family. What happened in New Mexico was a terrible mistake. A mistake, I repeat, tasting the word. We were trying to toughen you up, Terry explains, leaning forward. Help you become more self-sufficient. By abandoning me in a national forest? Mom flinches at my directness. We came back for you the next morning, but you were already gone. After the whole night, my voice remains steady. In mountain lion territory. Terry waves his hand dismissively. You've always been dramatic, Sable. We knew you'd be fine. The waitress appears. I order coffee. Everyone else does the same. When she leaves, the silence swells. Look, Terry says finally. We need $18,000 to get back on our feet. He straightens, folding his hands on the table. Once we're stable again, we'll pay back every cent. With interest. This time will be different, Mom adds quickly. We've changed. Brinley snorts, still scrolling. I sip my coffee, watching them over the rim. Mom's right eye twitches slightly, she tells when she's lying. Terry maintains uncomfortable eye contact, the way he does when closing a deal. They're reading from a familiar script. Say something, Sable, Mom whispers. I set my cup down, reach for my purse. Their postures shift forward in perfect unison like flowers toward sunlight. I remove my checkbook. Mom's eyes brighten. Terry's shoulders relax. Even Brinley glances up. With deliberate precision, I write out a check. The scratch of my pen against paper fills our corner of the diner. I tear it free, place it face up on the table between us. $21.5. Mom's forehead creases. What is this? The cost of the bus ticket from Silver City to Colorado Springs. I close my checkbook. That's all I owe you, and it's paid. Terry's face flushes. This is ridiculous. After everything we've done for you. Like stealing my trust fund? His mouth snaps shut. I pull a folder from my bag, sliding 3 documents across the table. My father left $38,500 for my education. You took it within 6 months of marrying Mom. Mom's carefully constructed mask slips. Raw fury flashes across her face. We had expenses. Raising someone else's child isn't cheap. Neither is the lawyer who wrote this. I tap the 3rd document. The statute of limitations has passed. I can't get the money back. Terry recovers quickly. Then what's the point of this little performance? Revenge? No. I meet his gaze steadily. I don't want anything from you. Not revenge. Not money. Nothing. The realization sinks in slowly. Terry's eyes narrow as he finally understands I'm not just refusing to help. I'm severing all ties. You can't do this, Mom whispers. I already have. I slide from the booth, standing with a calm I never knew I possessed. Geneva rises beside me. You can't just walk away from family, Mom hisses, grabbing my wrist with surprising strength. I look down at her hand, then into her eyes. You taught me how. I gently remove her fingers from my arm. She recoils as if burned. The walk to the door seems longer than it should. Past the silver-haired couple, the trucker with his newspaper. The bell above the door chimes as we step into the sunlight. In the car, Geneva turns the key but doesn't pull away. How do you feel? She asks softly. I consider this, searching for the anger, the hurt, the vindication I expected to find. Instead, there's a vast, peaceful emptiness. Free, I say, surprised by the truth of it. I feel absolutely free. As we drive away, I watch the diner shrink in the side mirror. 3 figures remain frozen in the booth, growing smaller with each passing second. When they disappear from view, I turn my eyes forward and don't look back. Morning sunlight pours through the windows of my little mobile home, painting golden rectangles across the wooden floor. 1 year has passed since I walked away from that diner in Santa Fe, leaving my so-called family frozen in their booth. 1 year of building something real. I trace my fingers along the edge of my drafting table, the surface scattered with charcoal pencils and sketches. The shed behind my house has transformed into a sanctuary, walls covered with landscapes of Colorado mountains and portraits of people who matter. In the center hangs my latest drawing of Dad, his eyes crinkling at the corners just the way I remember. The phone rings, interrupting my thoughts. Sable, it's Micah. Got a minute? Always for the boss, I say, smiling into the receiver. He chuckles. That's why I'm calling. Board approved the promotion. General manager position is yours if you want it. My breath catches. You serious? Dead serious. Your systems doubled our efficiency last quarter. You earned this. When I hang up, I stand perfectly still, letting the news sink in. From abandoned in the woods to running an entire business, the girl who was too sensitive now manages a team of 12. Later that evening, Martha arrives with a homemade pie, followed by Geneva and 3 friends from my weekend hiking group. They crowd into my small living room, bearing gifts wrapped in colorful paper. Happy birthday, Sable, Geneva says, passing me a small box. Inside rests a silver pendant simple eleganta compass. So you always know which way is forward, she whispers. After cake and stories, Geneva helps me clear plates while the others chat in the living room. I got the paperwork finalized, she says quietly. The Ashford Boundaries Fund is official. First scholarship goes out next month. Pride blooms warm in my chest. Did you tell Jasmine yet? Wanted you to do the honors. Geneva squeezes my shoulder. That girl reminds me of someone. 2 weeks later, I stand in a clearing among tall pines, 16 women forming a semicircle around me. Their faces reflect a mixture of excitement and uncertainty as they clutch their compasses. The trick to wilderness navigation isn't about never getting lost, I explain, voice steady and clear. It's about knowing how to find your way again when you do. An older woman with silver-streaked hair raises her hand. How did you learn all this? The question hangs in the crisp air. For a moment, I'm back in Gila National Forest, moonlight spilling across an empty campsite, my mother's note fluttering against a tree. I learned the hard way, I answer, looking each woman in the eye. My family abandoned me in the woods, 40 miles from civilization. They thought it would break me. Gasps ripple through the group. The silver-haired woman steps forward and takes my hands in hers. You turned poison into medicine, she says softly. That evening, back home, I noticed Brinley's letter on the side table where it sat unopened for 3 days. For the first time, I realize I'm genuinely curious rather than afraid of what's inside. I have the power to open it, or not either way, I'm okay. I turn instead to my sketchbook, adding forgotten details to my father's portrait, the small scar above his eyebrow, the laugh lines around his mouth. As I work, a sense of peace settles over me like gentle snow. They thought leaving me in the woods would teach me a lesson. It did, but not the one they expected.